What is up, everybody? We're back with another Coast to Coast podcast. This time we're getting into the NBA. We had the trade deadline, buyout season. I think it was a pretty solid, stretch. I mean, we didn't have any crazy big moves, but I think there was a lot of really solid moves that I think help contending teams just upgrade a little bit more, and a lot of quality players that were getting moved. So we'll hop right into it. The first one that we want to talk about, which I think was kind of slept on because Tucker is someone that hasn't really been getting that same love that he was getting when Harden and those Rockets were doing really well. But PJ Tucker going to the Bucks, which I think is a really solid sign for them. It's deeper. It makes their team deeper. He can just chill in the corner, wait for Giannis to just sling the ball in the corners, which I think is a nice solid, really solid piece for them. Especially it's just going to help their spacing in the playoffs. So let's see. I'll start with Jose this time. Does this mean a lot for the Bucks?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it right on the head. Exactly, is what they need is spacing. And they need a guy to play, that small ball role down the stretch. And they need a leader. And PJ Tucker's pretty gritty. I think he's gonna get the young guys going, and he's gonna hit them corner threes because he's the corner three god.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think it was super impactful, but I think it was a good move for the Bucks.
Definitely.
Yeah. Adding on to that, I mean, like Jose nailed it on the coffin. He's a guy that can the corner, he can spread the court, and he's also a defensive monster. He can guard 1 through 5 essentially like that. He's like that mini Draymond Green in fact. So they have a lot of defensive versatility in that lineup. They still got Brook Lopez, who's a great interior defender. They got Giannis. They got Chris Middleton. They got Dante DiVincenzo. They got Drew Holiday. There's got a lot of pieces out there that, with their guys in foul trouble, they have someone that they can throw in there because PJ Tucker can play the 3 to the 5. So a lot of defensive versatility in that lineup. Should be a good move for the Bucks, but it's going to be hard, to contend up there with the Sixers. We've had dominance this year, especially with their lineup with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid healthy, and the Nets who just added LaMarcus Aldridge, which we'll get into, which it's going to be hard. But I think having that much defense going against a team like the Nets that are so star-powered, it's going to give them a chance.
Yeah, definitely, bro. I like the point you made about the versatility because I just really want to see who they put Tucker on because he could there could be times in the game in the playoff series where he might be on Durant or he could maybe be on Harden. That would be crazy. And then going to the 76ers, they might put him on Embiid for a bit. You never know. He's very versatile. I'm just excited to see what Coach Bud comes up with for their defensive matchups. But next one we got Rondo and Lou Will getting swapped. Rondo going to Clippers, and then Lou Will going to the Hawks. And then the Hawks are getting 2 second-rounders, right?
Yes, the Hawks are getting 2 second-rounders.
Yeah. So yeah, basically Rondo and Lou Will just getting flipped. So I'll start with you this time, Liam. Yeah, what do you think? Do you think this means a lot for the Clippers? Because I personally think this is a really underrated solid move for the Clippers.
Yeah, I think it's a really great move, especially someone like Rondo, who has shown that he has that playoff pedigree. Everyone knows playoff Rondo. He turns it up in the playoffs. And something that I was watching a video, a guy talking about his perspective on this trade, saying how they finally get the weight off Kawhi and Paul George to have to be playmakers. They have a true point guard. Patrick Beverley's obviously a really good guard out there, but he's not a true point guard. The guy's just really good at defending and shooting threes. But Rondo, people might say he's washed. He has been having a bad season in Atlanta, but he's been used in the wrong role. He needs to be a guy that's the worst scoring option in your offense as the starting point guard. And alongside Trent overshadowed, but now he can go to the Clippers, he can be a starter for them. He can allow Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to create their shots off ball and alleviate the pressure of them having to be the ones with such high usage rates. Something that they want to watch out for those players going into the playoffs. So I think he's going to be a great move, and I think especially playoff time, we're going to see the effect of this trade. I don't think it's something that's going to affect the standings too much since I don't know how much the Western Conference standings are going to sway. I think it's going to be interesting. The Lakers with a lot of injuries now, who's going to take that top spot? So I think it's going to be a playoff time deal that was good. Even though they traded 2 first-round picks and they traded Lou Williams, who hasn't been that man like player he's been this year. He's been averaging 12 points a game, hasn't been playing a lot. I think it's a good deal. And, send Lou back to Atlanta. Let him go get his Lou wings at the club.
Sweet Lou.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lemon pepper Lou.
Yeah. I mean, I think Liam said it to begin with. I think it's players switching into a much better role for each of them. I think it's a win-win. I really like Lou Will on the Hawks. I think, he's going to play kind of like a Trae Young-esque role, but against second units. And he's going to be able to keep that same style of offense going when Trae Young's not on the floor. So, I mean, I think it's a great fit for both players. And obviously we know how Rondo plays in the playoffs. So if the Clippers want to go to that next level, Rondo's your guy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it should be noted, I love Lou Will, but he is a pretty bad playoff player because he'll get you, maybe 15 points, 20 points, but he is terrible on defense, and you're not really getting that playmaking. You're just getting that straight scoring, which I think, Kawhi and PG can do for you. And also Reggie Jackson, I feel is probably 80 to 90% of what Lou Will gives you. And now with Rondo, you just like you guys said, you just get that crucial playmaking, something that Kawhi and PG obviously are capable of, but that's not really their game. You just want those guys to just give them the ball, let them do their thing. Don't even have to worry about they're just to basically just play defense, lock down, and just go get to your spots. You don't have to worry about feeding others. Rondo's got you on that. And playoff Rondo, he was the third best player on the Lakers in that finals run. LeBron, AD, and then Rondo was right there with him, which was crazy because he has looked washed for the last 5 years in the regular season. Yeah. But so it's gonna be nice. Maybe we'll get the LA conference finals with this edition, but who knows? I do really like it for the Clippers though.
Don't sleep on the Hawks though. They've been on a run since St. McMillan's taken over as head coach, and it's probably a good move to have another wing scorer. They got Capella who can get side for them. Obviously, Collins has been a beast, even though he wasn't trade rumors, didn't end up getting traded this season, which I really liked. And, I think it's a good move for Atlanta. I think they're sitting around the 4 seed, if I'm not right, last time I saw.
I hope they make the playoffs because they're young. That would be a really good experience if they really if this is the young core that they want to, go into the future with.
Bring some free agents to Atlanta, which, is a pretty popular area. I think people would like to go play there.
Yeah. All right,
Hawks
so next
are less
one,
than
this is probably
2 games out of 4th. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, the standings are all out of whack though. Everyone's all bunched up.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, next one we got probably the biggest trade of the deadline. Honestly, this was the closest thing to a blockbuster deal. Vucevic, finally, getting off the Magic. Him and Al-Farouq Amino got sent to the Bulls, and then the Magic got Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter Jr., and 2 top 4 protected picks. And I actually really like this trade. I think it was solidly fair because I think, Wendell Carter Jr. is a nice young player, and I think just need to change the scenery, honestly. And then for the Bulls, I think they're kind of in that same position with the Hawks where it's you don't really think they're in that top 3, but they're still hopefully should be able to make a playoff run. They got 2 All-Stars now. I think Vucevic is going to play really well with all the offensive pieces they have. So I'm excited. Jose, how you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people criticize the Bulls for this move, especially because they gave up Wendell Carter. But I think as an organization, you had to realize that Wendell Carter has a ceiling. And, the main piece that you want to develop on your team here is probably, Lowry, at least that you want to develop the most. So I think a guy like Nick Vucevic to put, with him, and also a guy like Daniel Theis that they also acquired, Markkanen can really pick, from their best abilities and add him to his own game. And I think that's kind of what they were going for. Obviously, Vucevic is an all-star in his own right, but they needed a center badly, and I think this is going to push them into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, I think Nikola Vucevic is one of the most underrated centers we have in the NBA. People were giving him backfire when he made the All-Star team over Sabonis at the moment. They're like, oh, why'd this guy make it? He's averaging 20, 14 and 5. 14 and 4. This kid's a solid player out of, not kid, he's a man now. He's 1 or something. I saw it.
Yeah, you're a grown man.
I mean, the way I saw it, though, they're talking about, when the Lakers made the trade for Anthony Davis, you got to think, is the value going to add up? you go out there and get a player, you can't just let it sink. Like, do you think Wendell Carter is going to turn into a 2014 and 5 guy?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
you also let go of a player, Otto Porter, who's been riding on your bench, making $25 million a year in a cap drop.
Yeah.
Basically, the player you get out of return is Al-Farouq Aminu in that situation, who's a solid role player who doesn't cost as much.
He's probably just as good as Otto Porter Jr., honestly. Like, they're probably, like, on the same level.
Exactly. But, you know, it's a move they had to make. If they got to surround LaVine with talent, if they're just going to keep letting players develop, I don't think it was going to happen. It wasn't going to work. I mean, I think they sit about 19 wins right now at the 10 seed in the East. But the East is wide open. Besides those top, 3 teams, it's wide open for anyone to get to the playoffs. And I think this is a move that they had to make. Otherwise, they're failing Zach LaVine. They're not delivering him with talent because otherwise you're just banking on people wanting to come to Chicago and that's the name. And I think, no
one wants to come to Chicago.
Exactly. It's a poorly run organization ever since Jordan left. That's everyone's known. It's they had the Derrick Rose era. Derrick Rose, obviously, his injuries led to it. Then they failed Jimmy Butler to surround him with talent. Now they can't fail Zach LaVine because they traded a lot for Zach LaVine to get him. Obviously, it didn't turn out much. It's done, and I think I don't remember who the other pieces were, but I remember it wasn't the greatest trade, but they did trade a lot for it. So to have Zach LaVine on this team, he's a young rising star. One of the top shooting guards in the league. Surrounded with a big man, give him that pick and roll, pick and pop option. I think Nikola Vucevic got him for a great price, and I love the trade.
I think it's the best player they could have got.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're not going to sign free agents. Like if you want to get someone like this, like you got to trade for him, and they did it. Like I actually like commend the front office. Like this is like a nice like just show the fan base like we care. Like we want to see us win, get a playoff spot. And then another move the Bulls made. They just got a little bit deeper. They got Troy Brown Jr. and then also Daniel Tice, which I think is a solid pickup for the Bulls, but also I think it's more detrimental to the Celtics because you lose. That front court depth. And Tice, I think, was a really nice piece on the Celtics, like someone that really fit in well with their squad. But they lose him. But I think solid move for the Bulls. I don't know how you guys feeling.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Troy Brown, former Duck. But Daniel Tice in his debut yesterday had a pretty solid game. I mean, he showed the type of player that he is. He's a rim protector. He's an enforcer, and I think that's what the Bulls need. And obviously he's going to play back up to Vucevic, but that's really what they need is a defensive guy to hold it down there.
Yeah, exactly. Vucevic is the greatest defending big man of all. And when you have Tice out there, you have the versatility to be defensive because Markkanen's not a great defender. Obviously, rookie Patrick Williams is progressing into a very good defender. But, you got to have – and then you got Kobe White and then Zach LaVine, who aren't really the greatest defenders themselves. Having – Troy Brown Jr. and Daniel Tice, who are defensive guys, is good to have on your team. I do think it's unfortunate for the Celtics, but I think it opens the door for Robert Williams, who went out there and had a really good game last night. I think he had 2 blocks, 2 steals, being that kind of, the guy out there that can just do anything for them, be a defensive guy. And I think it was about time. I saw so much chatter about how these per 36 numbers for Robert Williams were so astronomical that I was like, it's bound they have to start him. Even though they got Tristan Thompson, who's a great rebounder out there, I think you got to throw Robert Williams out there, let him progress with those young guys because that young core is doing phenomenal for Boston right now. They may not be showing in the standings at this moment. They probably expect to be higher given, the injuries with Kemba Walker and stuff like that. But I think it's a great move that, they didn't walk away the greatest haul the Celtics did, but they lose their starting center, but it opens up the door for another person, and it allows Chicago to get some defensive versatility.
Yeah, exactly. Nice, just nice, solid pieces to add the rotation, especially because these are guys that you want in the playoffs, just to have a deeper team. Yeah, good for them. Next, probably the second biggest move had Instagram, social media going crazy. Aldridge and Blake Griffin both going to the Nets. If you look at this team on paper, dude, if this team was together back in 2015, this would be the greatest team ever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Dude, 2015, KD, Kyrie, Harden, Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Jeff Green was still solid. DeAndre Jordan, yo.
Yep. No,
but
every single guy that they have, every single guy they have in the starting or at each position was an All-Star in 2019.
Wow.
And Aldridge and Griffin made All NBA teams back-to-back years.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to downplay it, and a lot of people are saying it's the craziest thing. I think you can't downplay it because people are like, oh, like the Lakers had the same amount of all-stars, like selections on the stuff in their team. Like, that's a totally different team. The Lakers had 2 superstars. This team has 3 superstars. They acquired themselves, obviously, DeAndre Jordan that they've had on their team, a solid guy. He's definitely not the guy he was back then. Blake Griffin, he's shown some flashes since he's been back. I mean, honestly, I think 2 years
He
ago,
dunked.
averaging 23 points a game.
He dunked.
Aldridge,
Of course he dunked.
Yeah. And then Aldridge is still averaging 14 points a game for the Spurs team that he's just on this year. So he's still a solid guy that can get some points for you. And then Spencer Dinwiddie just came back. So now they have like 8 players that can give you lead your team for victory every night. They still got Joe Harris, Jeff Green, Spencer Dinwiddie, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden. That's players that can make, and Bruce Brown's been a good force for them too. So 9 guys that go out there.
Bruce Brown.
The reason why you win a game.
Yeah. I think the number one thing with this team is though, every single one of these players is injury prone as hell. Like a couple wrist injuries, a couple ankle injuries, and this team goes to pieces. But I mean, it's insane to think about how many pieces they have at each position and how much depth, like how many different types of lineups they could have out there. And it kind of makes you think like, okay, what if they have too many, like the Celtics a few years ago, when they were overstacked at wings, like they had Hayward and they had Brown, and obviously they had other young guys. But so like Aldridge, I don't think they needed any more scoring. Like I think instead of Aldridge, they need what's his name, Jared Allen back, because they need that defensive presence. And Aldridge said he was going to bring defensive versatility, but when has he ever done that? So I don't know how that's going to look in crunch time, but obviously the scoring is there, so they could just outscore people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think they're just fully committed to just like, we're just gonna outscore you. Like, I think they're gonna be decent enough at defense. They're not gonna be like, a laughing stock, but they're just gonna be just slightly good enough to like, to be able to compete. But I think you made a good point about the injury prone, team, which I think, is good that they've constructed this roster because there's so much talent. Yeah, everyone is kind of injury prone, but I think that's just the risk you take when you build a contender like this. And shout out to Sean Marks, man, because he went from, a couple years ago, the kid cutting nets is just like a super young, fun team. And then in a matter of like 2 years, it's just constructed like this super team with 3 superstars, a ton of really solid role guys. And then, like you guys said, Aldridge, Griffin, not the same players, but, 2 guys that are both very, very smart and will be able to fit right in. They'll have the ball movement. I think all these guys they know, like, coming to the Nets, like, this is one of the contenders. Like, you're going to sacrifice just to be a part of, potentially winning a championship. So I think that's something that all these guys are going to buy into.
Something to point out, though, is you got to look like this huge trade, obviously, that everyone knows when they had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Jason Terry were traded from the Celtics, was seen as the biggest heist in NBA history.
Yep.
Nets are going to make the finals before the Celtics do. Mark my words.
Exactly.
Like a debate in this. If you at least keep those big 3 from the Nets, they're making the finals before the Celtics are. And
Ainge, it looks bad for Ainge. It looks bad.
Very bad.
Solid picks out there, but holding on to those picks too much. He held on to those Memphis picks for too long, and then they came kind of worthless. It's unfortunate to see because that's something that, someone, Sam Presti in Oklahoma City's got to look at and say, how do I have to manage my picks? He's got an assortment of picks. Is he going to take every single pick, or is he going to go out there and trade for a guy to bring in? It's an interesting situation that, shed some light on what's seen as the greatest heist of all time really wasn't that great.
Yeah, now it's kind of diminished.
Dude, the picks, those first-round picks turned into Kyle Kuzma, Jaylen Brown, Markelle Fultz, and Colin Sexton. So I don't know about y'all, but I would rather have KD, Harden, and Kyrie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I'd take those three too, honestly. Just kidding.
Yeah. 3 general.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude, it's just, oh my God, it's crazy. And like, yeah, Ainge, like you mentioned Presti, it's like, it's just tough to like know like when it's time to like sell your assets. Like, because you don't like, if you hold on to them too long, like, I mean, teams can switch from being really bad to really good, like all of a sudden. So like sometimes if you have a pick from a team that's really bad, they can make a couple moves, get good again. And it's like that pick isn't really worth as much as it was, a year or two ago. So it's just all about timing, man. The windows open and close so fast in the NBA.
Yeah.
So next one, another big move, which I really love this one. Oladipo to the Heat. They only gave up Olynyk, Avery Bradley, and a draft swap. And I think something to be noted, they gave up Olynyk, but they basically got another Olynyk in Bielitsa. So great moves by Riley and the Heat. Really like this trade. I'm not sure who they call it. I'll just go with Liam this time. Liam, what do you have to say about Depot going to the Heat?
It's a heist, someone that Oladipo is definitely not the All-NBA player he used to be, but I think he's still, just a step or two below that, which still makes you a solid player. And to bring that to a Miami team that's been sort of struggling, ever since Jimmy Butler came back, they had a streak, but now they've been kind of mellowed out. I think it's a wonderful trade. Everyone was saying how stupid Pat Riley was for not willing to give up Tyler Hero in a trade package to get Kyle Lowry, which why would you give so much up for a veteran point guard who's going to be like useless in
we'll get into that. Yeah.
And without his athleticism, he's just like a mediocre jump shooter who can who can pass the ball around. He's not like Chris Paul that, he's kind of an ageless wonder, or LeBron. So I think with getting the Oladipo trade, basically gave up nothing. But I think at the same time, it is look a little bad that they didn't go out there, like you said, Carson, and go for Harden last offseason. And they literally gave up nothing to get a player like Oladipo. What could they have given up to give someone like Harden? But again, I think it's a solid trade. It adds defensive versatility. Now you have a lineup. You can put Kendrick Nunn out there. You can put Oladipo with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Belicha. It's a wonderful spacing with the team. And I think this Heat team, it's going to take a lot of chemistry, with Oladipo, but I think they can go out there and make a conference finals run, but I don't think they're going to beat the Nets. It's going to be a little bit unstoppable for them. So I think it's a good move, solidified them, but, unless luck falls their way, it's going to be hard for them to repeat themselves back in the finals.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's crazy how soon the league forgets how much of a dog Oladipo was not even that long ago. I mean, this is a legit two-time All-Star, was the number one option on a playoff team. And we've seen him be clutch in the playoffs. And I think Jimmy Butler's a guy that can really get the guys around him to buy into the system and get the most out of his, surrounding cast. So I think Oladipo, especially because he's got that defensive grittiness, just like Jimmy Butler, they're going to be, working as a tandem, and they're going to be amazing together, I feel like. And they also got Ariza and Bielitsa, who are just great depth guys. Bielitsa's obviously former King. Sad to see him go, but yeah, I mean, a guy who can hit shots and play decent defense. And Ariza, same thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think this buys time for the Heat, just because you get Oladipo, he's on an expiring, so you can have him just for the rest of the season, maybe he helps you compete, get in an extra round in the playoffs or something, and then you lose that contract, and you still have enough cap space to maybe sign a big free agent in the next couple of years to pair with Jimmy and Bam. But you made a great point about the Harden trade. I think you should have pulled the trigger when because Hero's value was just an all-time high after that that finals run. And I think now we've been seeing he's still I think averaging 16, 17 points, but I think there's been a lot of really shaky moments, kind of like a sophomore slump at times from him. Also Robinson too, which he probably would have been thrown in that deal. But I still like this move for the Heat because you basically are getting a guy that's probably 80% of what he was, from his All-Star year or so, but a guy that you get him for nothing, basically, or you give up nothing. So it's why not?
Yeah.
And so we have three kind of smaller deals. We'll just run through them. First one, JJ Redick to the Mavericks, who was complaining a storm about getting traded. It's like, bro, like calm down. Like you ain't that special. Like I love you, JJ, but it's like everyone gets traded. I don't know how you guys feel on. I think it's a solid pickup for the Mavs.
Yeah, I mean, I think Luka's a guy who needs a team built around him, kind of similar to the Rockets team, where it was pretty much just Harden and shooters and defenders. Like, and that's exactly what JJ is. He's just a shooter. And they also got Melly, who's also having a down year, but we know that he can shoot the ball. And I think with Luka facilitating for both JJ and Nico Melly, I think he's going to get him back into a rhythm, and hopefully they can lead him to the promised land.
Yeah, I think I know there's still some worry about buyout because he was complaining that he wanted to get traded to a team, like the Nets, because that's where his hometown is, and he's still throwing a fit about it. But like you said, Carson, like he doesn't have the superstar power to like argue that way because he's been a player, but at the same time, he's not the JJ Redick that was on the Sixers a couple years ago. I think for the Mavericks, it's going to be a good deal if he decides to stay there. You got, like Jose said, you got to surround Luka with shooters and people that can be healthy out there. Because obviously, Kristaps Porzingis has had his times in and out of the lineup, but they got a big win last night against the Celtics, which was good for them for momentum-wise. But if this Dallas Mavericks team needs to take the next step, I think JJ Redick's a stepping stone to getting a better player. Like going out there, potentially trading the farm for a guy like Beal if he finally budges or something like that. But I think, there's going to be some other guys that they don't have playoff success this season. They're going to want to see their way out.
Yeah, the Mavericks and the Heat to me are like two teams that are just like they're just like sharks like waiting in the water. I think they're both like those are two teams that are just like primed to like make a splash for like the next superstar to be ready because you have the Heat that really are like another like star away from getting back to that finals run, and then like with Luka, it's like Luka is like a generational talent that I think if you pair him with another guy like of his stature, it's like that's a potential dynasty, just how talented Luke is. So yeah, that's a great point. Like a little stepping stone to potentially get a splash. Next move, we got the Kings. More guards. Oh yeah, go. My bad.
I was going to say, thinking of a player that could be traded that just came in my mind, I think CJ McCollum could be an option, someone that's been in this season. And, we saw the success that Gary Trent did in Aussie. We'll get to that. Gary Trent's gone now, but Norman Powell now.
Right.
Norman Powell doesn't really fit the small forward role for having him to be a shooting guard who averages 20 points a game. What's the purpose in paying McCollum if you have a guy that can do the same thing at the same position? So I think a guy who might be on this that you could get for a good price that would be an excellent scorer to play alongside Luka.
True. Damn, I actually really like that. Just like Luka, like give Luka a break. Just give CJ the ball. Like just don't overwork Luka. Next one, we got the Kings. More guards for the Kings. They picked up Terrence Davis and DeLon Wright. Two like solid bench guys, which I think I like for like the Kings to potentially like make that playoff push, get like the playing game or like maybe an 8th seed or something. But I guess that would be the playing game. But I'll start with Jose since he is the Kings guy here. Like, how you feeling about TD3 and Wright?
I mean, DeLon Wright, I think he's a solid backup point guard. I definitely think he's better than Corey Joseph. But
True.
Like, is this really the moves that we needed to make? It's not going to take us to the playoffs. Terrence Davis dropped like 30-something a while back, and that's the only reason I even know his name. But I just hope he goes out there and plays hard. Like, I just really hope this. I feel like this move could be absolutely useless, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like you guys failed to capitalize on this trade deadline and trade players at peak value. I think Harrison Barnes should have been a name that should have been moved. I think Marvin Bagley and him could have been back together to get you someone like to go up there and get a player. I think Chicago capitalized to get Vucevic when I think the Kings should have gone out there and get Marvin Bagley and Harrison Barnes, which should have been a better package.
Yeah, well, it's the Kings, bro. I don't expect anything from them anymore. But yeah, we can move on to Norman Powell to Portland for Gary Trent and Rodney Hood. So obviously Norman Powell, a guy that's been absolutely balling lately. For a young guy like Gary Trent and another solid wing, Rodney Hood. Carson, what do you got to say about this one?
Yeah, sorry, I just cut out for a sec. I like this move because like the Blazers are a team that like I've always wanted them to get like that true like I guess he isn't too much. He's more of a shooting guard, but I think he's like more than capable of playing a three. Just like a solid like small forward to go with those two guards and someone that is a really good 3-and-D guy, but also is like great at creating his own shot. I think this like Powell on this team is a great fit. Like, but also it's like you have to give up Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood. I think two guys that like are really solid in that line, especially Trent because like he was like kind of a bubble star and I think fit really well with those guys. So I would have liked them to give up maybe a little bit less for Powell, but I do love Powell and like the fit that he has on the Blazers with those two guys for sure. Just sucks that they had to give up Trent, but I think Powell is an upgrade from those guys for sure.
Yeah, I feel like
former King Gary Trent.
Honestly, I feel like the window has really closed on Rodney Hood's career at this point. We saw that he was a guy that may have taken a step. Coming from Duke, he was drafted rather late for a Duke player, but he had some success in Utah, if I'm correct, and then just kind of his injuries hurt him out there when he went to the Trailblazers, which he had some success early on with them. People thought he was going to be the small forward for them because they're the team, like the Clippers. The Clippers lob city team always looking for that small forward. It's like the Blazers team right now, looking for that small forward. So I think, I really didn't like to see Gary Trent go. I really am a big fan of Gary Trent's game. And hopefully he gets used well out there in Toronto. But I think there's a lot of the guard problems. They're going to take minutes away from Lowry now, given that they didn't trade him. Because I think you'd have to put him alongside, Fred VanVleet and then OG Anunoby at the 3. So interesting situation. Hopefully the Raptors find a way to use him correctly because I don't want the team to get used because there's other players that not to play over.
It's crazy that the Blazers get such little like big names that Norman Powell is like the most big time player they've had in so long.
Facts. I wish they would have just like the Raptors would have just gotten like picks instead. I mean, I know it's like Blazers, those picks don't really mean that much, but I think like the Raptors like I feel like should just go in like a little soft rebuild, like just build around Siakam, VanVleet. I mean, now you have Gary Trent. I just would like them to just like hit a little like where they're still gonna be solid, but like a soft rebuild for them. Just build around those guys. Just like accept the youth.
They won their chip. That's what they care about. So
exactly. So it's like now just like work towards like getting back to that.
They gotta find
next move. Yeah, exactly. Next move, George Hill to Philadelphia, which I think I like would have loved to see Lowry on the 76ers. I think it would be the perfect fit. But now seeing this, it's like it is really smart business-wise to get a guy like George Hill that is, does a lot of the same things that Lowry does. Obviously, nowhere near the the high level that Lowry gives you, that championship pedigree that he gives you, but someone that is close to that. And you get him at basically nothing, whereas Lowry is a very, very tough $30 million. It's really hard to trade and match salaries with that. So I actually do really like this move for Philadelphia. You get deeper and you still get the same qualities that you would get from Lowry at a much, much better rate. So Liam, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, you get a guy who's a season removed from leading the league in 3-point percentage at 46%. So I think that's a good move for the Sixers. Like you said, he's kind of like a consolation prize for not getting Lowry, but I think it's a good move out there. They put if they want to have Ben Simmons, run the 3 or the 4 out there, and they can put George Hill out there with Seth Curry, get some more scoring out there, some more shooting, because we know the reason for this team's success has been their ability to stretch the floor with Embiid and Simmons out there. Obviously, Embiid's a much better shooter, but Simmons obviously is not the greatest shooter, not really a shooter at all. So they have shooters around them, and someone like Hill, who again, season removed from leading the league in 3-point percentage, is a great move.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else, Jose?
Nah, I mean George Hill's he's just always solid. Just a solid point guard. There's really none special.
Yeah, I'm just glad he's going to a team like a contending team like Philly. So next we got the Nuggets, who made a couple really nice moves. I'll start with the small one first. Javale Mcgee going to the Nuggets. Much needed rim protection, especially like that's an aspect of Joker's game that like isn't that great. And I think getting someone like McGee that can cover that for him is beautiful. Like more depth, more rim protection, something, just alleviating that pressure from Jokic. So I love this move. How you guys feeling?
Hold on, bro. Did you just say this was the smaller move? In my opinion, JaVale McGee is the better move. He's a champion,
Okay.
multi-time champion, starting center on the Lakers. I mean, defensive monster. He's gonna take the load off of Jokic. He's gonna hold it down, in the paint, in transition. Dude, how can you disrespect
Not
JaVale?
smaller move, not like literally the smaller move. Aaron Gordon's was covered way more, but hey, you got a good.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But
But like the rim protection was an actual need. Like Gordon's like gonna be a nice fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree with you 100%. You just ain't gotta come at me like that, bro.
I think let's deal then. So obviously Aaron Gordon gets traded. Gary Harris gets thrown in the deal. RJ Hampton additional first, which I think was a great deal for someone that's been a very underrated player. He's only known for the dunk contest. People would not know who this guy is. He did not compete in the dunk contest, which is unfortunate because he's a very good defender who now takes the role of Paul Millsap. He's a more athletic guy out there. He can get the rim, roll the rim, allow Jokic, to go out there and do his work, because this guy can also stretch the floor. I think he's actually the better move, but I think he adds some athleticism more to the lineup. You get Aaron Gordon out there. You have Michael Porter Jr. You have, two young wings that can really move out there. You still got you still got Jamal Murray. Then you throw, someone like there like Monte Morris. I think it's a really solid move, picking up a player that's been, begging to be traded in this Orlando team. I think there was so much confusion back when like Serge Ibaka was on the team. They put this guy at the 3, and then now Jonathan Isaac's emergence. Obviously, he's not playing this year because of injury, but still, I think this has just ruined Aaron Gordon's career. I think he would have gone for a much higher price tag a couple of years ago. I think, trading a guy like RJ Hampton, who really wasn't going to have a role on this team, even though he's a very young star, I think it was a great move. You move off Gary Harris, who's very up and down in his carear. I think,
massive contract too.
I would say the only reason why it's a bigger deal is because he's going to be on the court more. You can't put JaVale McGee and time because they're too mobile.
Yeah,
sure. JaVale McGee was much. I would say, he was very good on those Lakers team. When it comes down to it, when
and the Warriors.
Yeah, when Jokic needs to get a rest, you put him out there, and he's going to be a defensive monster for them, which I think is important because we've seen that Jokic is really only liability as a whole player is his defense is not the level of those top defenders in the league. So,
they address 2 key issues, which is great because now like the Nuggets, like this moves them from like, sneaky contender to like a legit, like damn, like I could easily see them like competing with the Lakers, Clippers. They're right in there, like with the Jazz. Like I probably look at them over like the Clippers. Honestly, I think like talent wise, like I just like the squad the most. Like I think like they're like right behind the Lakers and like second. And, like these moves are amazing. It's gonna be amazing to see like Gordon, like his cuts, his athleticism playing off Jokic. Like there's gonna be some crazy lobs, some crazy backdoor cuts. I'm like super excited to see that.
Yeah, and now they can let Paul Millsap walk in free agency if he chooses to, or if he wants to come back on a lower deal. They don't have to pay him as much now. Because they've got leverage.
And for the rest of the season now, he's playing on the bench, which is going to be a good role.
Yeah. But I still think they need a little bit more guard depth.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Because who they have? Murray, Campazzo,
Monte Morris.
What else do they have? Monte Morris. Barton's kind of like also guard, like 2 guard.
Yeah.
That's true. Kyle Lowry would have been a great fit on that team too. The Nuggets. It could have been. And then finally, our last 2 moves. Celtics, they got Fournier. Solid move, but I think like Vucevic would have looked a lot better on the Celtics instead of Fournier. not liking the Celtics, man. We already talked about it. They're in a worse situation than the Nets when they were supposed to be the ones that win the trade. And now it just looks pretty grim for Boston just because they're having a tough time building a team around their two superstars. But I guess this is a nice start. It's a nice piece.
Yeah, I mean, they gave. Yeah, go ahead, Jose.
I mean, you would think it would be a nice piece. He just had his debut, and he was the first player in history to have over 10 field goal attempts, make none. Over 5 3-point attempts, make none. But I mean,
Yeah.
this is a guy who has been averaging 20 points per game for a few years now,
He'll come
or at least
around.
at or around that. And they got him for basically just 2 second-round picks. So,
Yeah,
go ahead, Dan.
Exactly what I was going to say, Jose. You got him for 2 second-round picks, so it's seen as like a bargain deal. But at the same time, why not go out there, trade some assets and go get Vucevic? Because the reason they need a big man to compete. Who the hell is going to guard Joel Embiid? Like, like you say, Robert
exactly.
Williams is going to get destroyed by that man. Like, even like they should have gone out there, got Andre Drummond. Obviously, he's not a great defender, but he's a big body who can get rebounds for them at a much higher rate than anyone in the league because he's the best rebounder we've seen in so long because of his rebound rate. So I didn't really like the moves. They're adding guard depth to an already stacked wings. They got Peyton Pritchard, who's been playing well on their bench. Now they're adding Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker. Now Fournier. I think it's a way too confusing guard situation because, like, what's their lineup going to be now? They'll have Brown at the 3, Tatum at the 4. You either have Smart or Fournier at the 2, and then Kemba at the 1, and then Robert Williams at the 5. I think it's too crowded. They need to go get size, and they just fail to address it every time. And this is why Danny Ainge just continues to piss me off. I think he's the most overrated GM. He was able to get those 2 guys, but he gets glorified for a trade that, like we just mentioned earlier, the other team ended up winning.
Backfired. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good for their bench, though, because, you assume that Smart would be in that closing lineup and Fournier would just be coming off the bench, just adding that extra scoring, which is nice, though, because when Tatum or Brown come off the bench, there's not, like, because Kemba, you never know what you're going to get from Kemba. And then, like, after that, it's like you don't know where your scoring is going to come from. But overall, it's like, you just wish that the Celtics would do more because you have 2 superstars. Like I said, windows open and close so fast. You need to build a contender around these two amazing talents, 2 guys that want to play in Boston, they want to play together. You got to satisfy them because if those 2, if one of them decides they don't want to play there, Boston, it'd be so bad.
It's over.
It would be so bad.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Boston is just such an unnecessary move because right now I'm looking at their front court depth chart. They've got Jason Tatum at the 4 starting, and right behind them they've only got Grant Williams, and then at center, Robert Williams and Tristan Thompson are both injured right now. The only healthy center they've got is Mo Wagner, who naturally is not even a center unless you want to count Taco Fall, which that is tough. So I don't think you can play small ball the whole game. So I don't know who's going to be playing center when something like this happens.
Not a good.
Exactly. Yeah. And then finally, Andre Drummond getting bought out, acting like he was Michael Jordan or something, vying for all these teams. It's like, bro, calm down. You get a nice amount of rebounds, but can't really shoot free throws. Just chill out. But goes to the Lakers. Liam, how you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, Big Boy hurt his toe last night in his debut game against the Bucks, and then they got obliterated. I was watching the game before, which was Celtics Mavericks, and then they were showing the preview for the game, and the top player for the Lakers who's healthy was Dennis Schroeder. So it said Dennis Schroeder versus Antetokounmpo, which I thought was fun.
I saw that.
They wouldn't put Drummond on there as their star player, but I think it's going to be a move that when this team is fully healthy, emphasis on is fully healthy, is going to be a great move to have Davis in there. But I think it's going to clog it up for them. Drummond isn't a guy that can space it out, which will be a little bit of a problem. He's an upgrade over who they have at center anyway. But I think, then it also pushes Montrezl Harrell to the bench, which, makes it a little bit interesting. But I'd rather have Montrezl Harrell out there than Andre Drummond. I think Andre Drummond's really there just for right now since AD's gone, that he's going to provide that rebounding for them. So hopefully he gets back healthy. I don't know what the diagnosis was on his injury, but hopefully he gets back out there. and go out there, put some 20-20 games up there of his 46% layup percentage. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't see him ever playing like the fourth quarter in the playoffs ever.
No, you can't. You can't play him.
Can't. So, I mean, it's a move that helps the Lakers, maybe in the regular season, hold down center role when AD's hurt, take off some pressure. But in the playoffs, like, Drummond's a non-factor.
He's a tempo slower.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 6 fouls to put on the opposing team's like best big man. Like if they're playing the Nets or the Sixers, especially the Sixers and Bucks in the finals,
yeah.
like that's 6 fouls that you can put on Embiid and Giannis right there. So like, I mean, there's that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's someone that like he's just a more glorified version of like the McGee and like the Howard role. I feel like where you can't really like it's kind of tough to play those guys in the fourth quarter too. So I think he's just like a better, younger version of that.
But with LeBron, when LeBron comes back, probably will be back before Davis. It's still going to be good to have him out there to be the big body, to defend the guy.
Yeah.
He's still a solid defender. I mean, he's not a great defender.
Yeah.
I think he's DPOY caliber, but he still can be a solid guy that gives some steals and blocks every once in a while. So I think it's going to be a solid placeholder move. But when AD comes back, I mean, I'd imagine he'd start, but they're going to have to find ways to stretch him off on the floor because it's just going to clog the paint for Bron.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I want to ask you guys though. What's up with the Warriors, bro? What do you guys have to say about their activity on the deadline?
I just think like, I mean, we all know like we're still waiting on Clay, so like we're not really gonna be able to judge like our team until we know that we have Clay, and like because at that point it's like no excuses, like we've been saying this the last couple of years, like we just need to get our Splash Brothers healthy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just don't really know like what we could have really gotten.
I mean,
where it's
you rejected
like,
Spencer Dinwiddie for Kelly Oubre.
I was going to say that was a move that was out there. I didn't remember who the trade was, but I know Kelly Oubre was on the block, which would have been unfortunate to see him go because he's been pretty decent for us this year. But
yeah, I do like Oubre a lot. But Dinwiddie would have been nice, like coming off the bench, like a nice third guard.
But I think at this season, I don't know what the playoffs are going to look like. Are we going to sneak in an 8 seed at this point? So I think we probably should have looked at trading someone like Oubre because, he's still owed $17 million. I mean, his contract will be up this season. So I think we should have gotten rid of him and, just go out there and get someone like Dinwiddie because we're doing a conference trade that isn't going to be a problem unless we meet them in the finals, which, is Clay going to get us back to that point, which is a big question mark. I think we should have traded for some more draft capital assets. I mean, definitely happy we didn't trade the Minnesota pick because I think, hopefully
that's very valuable.
It's or it, is in the top 3 and then we end up with their pick the following year because I don't think Minnesota is going to be good next year either. They're just unless they get a new coach that changes the culture. So, we just stay true to the path. Like Carson said, Clay's got to come back. That's the key to us. And if he comes back and we don't start winning, then we know we have bigger problems to address.
One other thing, though, I think a trade that, like, we couldn't have made right now, but we could potentially make in the future. Bro, hear me out. Wiseman, keep playing him, get his value up. That Minnesota pick, maybe Oubre or something, like maybe a couple pieces, draft capital, whatever. Go get Bradley Beal.
Ooh.
I was going to say we should trade the Minnesota pick back with Wiseman and get Karl-Anthony Towns.
Oh, get Towns? Oh, that would be sick too. Dude, that would be sick. Dude,
that would be
oh my God.
Sick.
He's like, how DeMarcus Cousins, he was like, I'm the third splash, bro. Towns would legit be the third splash, bro, because he's like an amazing shooter.
Oh, he's a wonder.
Yeah, if Clay comes back healthy and like full ability.
Yeah, I'd trade Wiseman in the first for Cat. I think that'd be a deal that they would accept because, they're going to want to build around, someone that's on a more of a time path, Austin D'Angelo's going to get mad about this, but they're probably going to draft Cade Cunningham #1 overall for all we know. So,
yeah.
Hey,
he could go there. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe Coast2Coast will do an episode on the NBA draft.
And we'll have to do a March episode with the winner of our bracket, so stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, that would
my
be
bracket
sick,
not doing
dude.
so hot.
Yes, Sandy. Gonzaga is like literally the only team I have left.
Oh, really? I didn't even pick them.
Really?
Oregon.
I picked Oregon, bro.
They had a good run.
Fair. Loyal to the soil.
I would say also news alert: Luka Garza won the Player of the Year award by a significant amount.
Who won it?
Respect.
Wait, who won Player of the Year?
Garza.
Garza.
Oh, Garza.
the
Yeah,
one-
yeah, yeah. He won it back to back.
yeah.
Where is Garza getting drafted, do you think?
Second round.
Is he a late first?
Yeah.
Second
Nah,
round?
he's not going first. I don't think his game fits the NBA that well.
No.
He's era too late, or 2 eras.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, maybe a couple
90s.
eras.
He's Jahlil Okafor.
Yeah, a couple years.
Yeah.
Okay, we all good for the episode today, boy?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Real quick though. Besides Lowry, who is the one player that you guys would have liked to see traded?
to see
that didn't get
traded?
traded. Putting you all on the spot, unless you guys said. Yeah, like someone that you would have liked to see traded but didn't get traded.
Westbrook.
Mm.
That was a sneaky one. That the Clippers could have been a deal if they had the way to figure out the cap space. Just a more electric guy who, can be the point guard role that Rondo is. He's just better at it. And he's had really good games out there for Washington, putting up, virtually empty stats. But I think he'd still be a solid third option.
That'd be a fun experiment. Westbrook, PG, Kawhi. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
What about you, Jose?
Dude, I wanted to see Buddy Hield get traded so bad. I just want him gone. Please take him. Like Warriors, take him. Just take him. Give us. I don't know. I don't even know. Don't give us anyone. Just
Anything.
give us money.
Give y'all-
Just take him. He's
Facts.
awful.
I want to see Barnes get traded because Barnes has been playing pretty well.
Yeah, and I don't know why we're keeping him. We're not contending. Like we could have
It
gotten
just doesn't
legit
really fit
assets
your
for
guys'
him.
timeline. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because he's he's not old, but he's not like crazy young either. And I think you want to get
He can
like,
still
someone-
contribute to a contending team, like legit.
He's averaging what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
He's averaging like 17 a game.
Something like that. But his 16. But his role goes so much beyond like the stats, I feel like. And like
Yeah,
his locker room presence is amazing.
Yeah. I think sending him back to the Mavericks, I mean, I know it wasn't really like that great of a first trip, but like I think that's someone that could like really have helped the Mavs in their playoff push. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense why the Kings like would keep either of those two. Like just you got
Nothing that the
like
Kings do makes
Halliburton.
sense.
Yeah, that's facts. That is facts.
Drafted.
I don't
I'm
even know.
surprised
who
Bagley
we're-
didn't get traded. I thought you guys might have thrown Bagley in a deal to get maybe like John Collins.
Oh,
Yeah, I would have took John Collins all day.
Hell yeah. Dude, Collins is like a walking like 20 and 10.
Yeah, facts.
And Bagley, who knows? Who knows if he'll get there? I hope he does, but I mean, time is ticking.
the 10 and 6.
Yeah.
Walk. 10 and 6. Yeah.
Walking 10 and 6. right.
He's a walking
That's
10
all
and
I
6
had.
fouls.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
All right,
All right,
anything else, boys?
Nah.
All right, let's gonna wrap it up then. Hope you guys enjoyed a trade deadline buyout season. Next week, I don't know what we're gonna do, but ESPN mock drafts did open. We're gonna have to hit that pretty soon. We'll give you guys like a live mock draft 1.0, because like the rankings are gonna just change like by the week. But the ESPN dropped the first mock draft, so we might have to do that.
We also got to do a mock draft again now, since now our mock draft's invalid since the Niners just traded up. So,
Oh yeah, and the Eagles traded down.
yeah, Dolphins.
Yep.
All right.
Oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, that's it. If you guys enjoyed, we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.